are many new features that are being talked about on the new M2 Mac Mini. Some people have their favorites, and I would tend to agree that there might be more than one. However, this feature that I'm going to cover today can be confusing for many people if it's not explained correctly. So I'm going to do my best to keep it simple. I promise. So what am I talking about? Can you guess? Go ahead and leave your comment down below and let me know. Now, I would typically do a CTA here, but I think it needs to be said that my last video, it blew up. For my standards. But we got a lot of new people joining the channel, so thank you so much for coming along for the ride. To those that have already been here, you're the real OGs. And thank you guys so much for that, and I hope we can continue this ball rolling and get some more content out for you. So enjoy this video. I mean, if I just told you, it wouldn't have been as cool as a cinematic epic B-roll shot in slow-mo with some copyright-free music. Now, I couldn't be more happy that I can hook up my two 5K monitors, especially since I paid so much for these dang things. And to be completely honest, I bought that second 5K monitor when I had the M1 without checking first if it would work. Yeah, that's on me. Had I taken just a few minutes to look, I would have found that while I could use two monitors, one display was up to 6K resolution at 60 Hz, connected via that Thunderbolt port, but the other one, well, it could only be up to 4K at 60 Hz via the HDMI 2.0 port. I mean, I'd be super annoyed because of the different resolutions. I don't know if anybody cares. Pretty much everybody would be super pumped to have two 4K monitors and call it a day. Little backstory here, before I got the M1 Mac Mini, I had a 5K 27-inch iMac since 2015. I just could not be more happy with the results from it, and there was no way I could go back to anything other than 5K. Now, as far as what the M2 Mac Minis can do, well, there's a difference between the base and the Pro. Are you surprised at this point? So this is where it can get confusing, and when I looked around online for the explanation, it honestly gave me a headache. Now, I'm sure many of you would look at it and think, that makes total sense. But I never claimed to be the one who gets things quickly on the first go-around. And of course, if you're not familiar with the technology, it can be pretty daunting. Now, the base M2 Mac Mini is just like the M1 in the sense that it can use two monitors. I told you what the M1 can do as far as the specs go, but the M2 Mac Mini has a little trick up its sleeve. Nothing up my sleeve. The M2 now allows both Thunderbolt ports to be used to hook up two monitors. One can be up to 6K and the other up to 5K. Now, if you have plans for that second USB-C port on your machine, you can still have a second monitor through the HDMI, but unfortunately, it still only supports up to 4K at 60 Hz, which again, like I said earlier, you would probably be more than happy with. By the way, is anyone using a 6K monitor with their base M2 Mac Mini? I need to see how much one of those is. I'll be right back.
2 hours later.
Okay, I knew the Apple Pro Display XDR is 6K. I mean, listen, if you want to spend $5,000, wait, I need to adjust that. If you want a stand, you pay $6,000. Now, if you're able to afford this, then why are you buying a Mac Mini? Moving on. After an exhaustive search online through Amazon, I wasn't able to find any 6K monitors. If it's not on Amazon, it doesn't exist. I'm kidding. Apparently, Dell has just announced a 6K 32-inch monitor as well, which is the same as the XDR from Apple. Now, this thing looks, well, I mean, I'm just not gonna mince words here. Ugly AF. It's a PG show. So in short, Apple's saying, yes, buy the M2 Mac Mini and hook it up to our 6K Pro Display XDR for a small price of $5,000 if you want to lean it up against the box. $6,000 if you don't want to lean it up against the box. That would be ridiculous. On a side note, when Apple announced the M2 Mac Minis, they showed the display being used as that $1,600 studio display. Even then, I thought, that monitor costs more than the computer. Do you have a headache yet? If you don't, you might after this. Moving on to the M2 Pro. Now this machine can support 3 monitors, but there are some, scratch that. There are many caveats. Now I got this directly from apple.com, so it's gonna be right from the horse's mouth.
Are you ready, kids?
You might want to sit down for this. One external display supports one display in one of these configurations. One display up to 6K at 60 Hz over Thunderbolt, or one display up to 8K at 60 Hz or 4K at 240 Hz over HDMI. That's that option for one display. 2 external displays. 2 displays up to 6K at 60 Hz over both of the Thunderbolt ports. Or one display up to 6K at 60 Hz over Thunderbolt, and the other display up to 4K at 144 Hz over HDMI, which is still 2.1 because you can do more Hertz, which means cooler display. Then 3 external displays, and here are those configurations. 2 displays up to 6K at 60 Hz over Thunderbolt. My God, that would be like over $3,000. Anyway, and the third one on HDMI 2.1, but because you've got the other 2 monitors, you are limited to 4K at 60 Hz. If you're going for 3 monitors, you're a beast. This is confusing as the megabits and megabytes that you all laughed at me, but if I asked one of you who made fun of me to explain the left wing lock in hockey, your head would explode. Me, I understand that. So in that base M2 Mac Mini, you've got your 2 displays hooked up through the USB-C ports option, which kind of sucks because now you're out of those ports. Yes, you could always use the USB-A ports. For some reason, Apple still has those at 2.0, which we're up to 3.1. Come on, Apple. Now, if you use the HDMI for one of those, at least you'll have an extra port open. You got that? We're settling. We're not settling. I mean, I'm just trying to give you some options here. Yeah. Now, this is one thing that makes the M2 Pro Mac Mini so appealing for those who just flat out need more ports. I'm guessing that there's limitations for the base M2 that doesn't allow for more than 2 USB-C ports. Hopefully with the next gen base model, we can add more, redesign, stronger chip. I don't know. Now, I do have a video on tap ready to come out later this week that actually can help solve that port shortage problem, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Now, like I mentioned earlier, since my last video, we have a ton of new subscribers. Thank you so much. Until that next video comes out, why don't you check out this playlist that I put together right here of my favorite videos on the channel. Until then, you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.